Okay. Hey guys, what's up? It's Kyle again. I'm gonna do an Impact show review tonight. Like I said, I'm gonna do a review on tonight's TNA Impact that I just finished watching like no more than 2 minutes ago, and I'm also going to explain my frustration with tonight's show and how some things that TNA's done tonight's show that just does not make sense. So we're going to be killing two stones with. I'll be killing two birds with one stone here in this one particular video. So if this video is, if it's 30 minutes long, please watch it. I'm just saying. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm saying if it exceeds 22 to around the 30-minute mark, please watch the whole video. Okay, so just to give you a quick summary of what happened tonight, the show opened up with Anderson talking about his problems with Immortal and how he's just been on a rampage lately with him, and how he has a world title match later tonight. He's going to invoke his rematch clause against Kurt Angle for the world title. So this was the only match that I was looking forward to, because I know Anderson and Kurt Angle have very great chemistry in the ring. They've had solid matches each time that they've fought against each other. So this was the one thing that kept me stuck around, for the entire show, as well as the return of Jeff Hardy. But so going back, the first match we had was is a tag team match between the British Invasion versus a new tag team that we just now know have now formed, the Pope and Devon, in the number one contenders match, and they will face Anarquia and Hernandez for the tag titles this Sunday at the pay-per-view, No Surrender. Okay, so the Pope and Devon, like I said, a newfound formed tag team, have now have defeated the British Invasion and are now the number one contenders for the tag team titles at this Sunday's pay-per-view. After that, we get a match between Eric Young defending the TV title against Robbie E. Eric Young wins and successfully defends his title against Robbie E. Then we have a segment between Beer Money, Gunner, and brother Bully Ray. Nothing much to really go into that there. Then after that, we get the world title match, which is Kurt Angle defending the world title against Anderson. And like I said, I knew this match was going to be good, and this match was good. Sting was a special enforcer, like Hulk Hogan was a special enforcer last week on Impact. But this was a good match, best match out of the whole entire night. And secondly, it looked like Anderson was actually going to win the title from Angle, but Immortal ended up coming in and interrupting the match, causing a disqualification or whatever. And then and then they just beat up Anderson and Sting. Immortal just beat them up mercilessly or whatever. And then Eric Bischoff gets a call from the network. We don't know what it is yet until later into the show. And then after that, we get a tag match between the Knockouts champ Mickie James and Velvet Sky versus Angelina Love and Winner. Winner and Angelina Love won that match. And then after that, we get to the main event, which is basically it's a fatal four-way. They call it a four corners match, but I just call it a fatal four-way because I think the way TNA names some of their matches are kind of like stupid. But you had a fatal four-way between Gunner, James Storm, Robert Roode, and Bully Ray, and Gunner ended up winning that match. And then after that, we get a backstage segment with Hogan, and Bischoff tells Hogan that earlier during the show that the call that he got was from the network informed him that this Sunday Kurt Angle would defend his world title in a three-way match against Sting and Mr. Anderson. And then lastly, the show ended with Jeff Hardy coming back. Jeff Hardy got some good pops. There was a little boos here and there, but mostly he got, like I said, there were more cheers than there were boos for him. And, he really didn't. I mean, like I said, what they advertised last week saying, and even tonight when the show opened up saying Jeff Hardy's going to come and the network's going to give him an open mic to explain, his whole situation and things like that. Jeff didn't really talk that much. I mean, you had like 2 minutes left in the show, and he used those exact 2 minutes up. I mean, like, it didn't go overtime or anything. He really didn't explain anything. All he just really said was of how, he messed up at the pay-per-view, Victory Road, and he pissed a lot of people off in the background. He pissed off a lot of fans or whatever, and all he's just asking is for one more chance because he knew he messed up, and he knows that he can do better, than that. He's the main eventer. That he knows that he's a much better main eventer, than what he was that night. And so, he's just asking people for one more shot, a second chance. And, the show just ended with, people chanting his name, saying one more shot, and, welcome back, and Jeff Hardy. So it just ends like that. So I rate tonight's Impact Wrestling a 2 out of 5. I thought last week was a much better show compared to this week. I thought last week's show had more, solid. I think it had some two good matches at least. I think, well, actually 3 good matches I thought last week, and like I said, just last week's show just flowed a little bit much better. This week's show, lackluster matches. Like I said, really didn't. Like I said, I just rated a 2 out of 5. Last week's show, I rated a 3 out of 5, which I did post up on my YouTube, but for some reason that review video got deleted, so I'm not going to do another remake or retake video of last week's Impact, because I spent too much time on that, and like I said, I don't know why, but that video got deleted like 2 days after I had posted up on YouTube. But anyway, so this is my review for Impact. Now, my frustrations with tonight's episode of Impact. Now, this is where we get to the good stuff here. So my first problem that I have with this is that you have Devon and the Pope as a new tag team. Okay, this kind of does not make any sense, because for weeks you've had Pope, so-called, being around Devon's boys and Devon's wife, and Devon has a problem with this, but somehow, and Pope has been working to try to earn Devon's trust, but Devon doesn't really trust him fully, but somehow they're like best buddies now, and they formed a tag team, and you just announced this tonight, all in one night, so it's like, okay, this is a slap in the face. Like, when did these guys become tag teams when, if you look for the past couple of weeks, they've been at each other's throats? And they get over on the team, not just any tag team, but they get over on the British Invasion, who has been a tag team, a good tag team, in my opinion, one of TNA's best tag teams after, Motor City Machine Guns or Beer Money. But Douglas William and Brutus Magnus, the British Invasion, the 2 guys who, like I said, have been a tag team in TNA for 2.5 to 3 years now, they get squashed by 2 guys you just randomly put together tonight to form as a tag team to earn a number 1 contender spot for the tag titles. Does not make sense whatsoever. Okay. Then on top of that, later on during the match, not the match, but during the night, you have there's a backstage segment between Karen Jarrett, Mickie James, and Velvet Sky. And she tells Mickie James, this Sunday you'll be defending your title against Winter. Winter invokes a rematch clause. Again, you're setting this up 3 days before your pay-per-view. Another thing that didn't make sense to me tonight was that at the last minute, they added Kurt Angle versus Sting versus Anderson for the world title at this Sunday's pay-per-view. At the last minute, like I said, does not make sense. Then they have Beer Money, Gunner, and Bully Ray face each other in you can call it a fatal 4-way. Why would you do that when these guys are going to face each other off in a pay-per-view? Now, I know at this Sunday's pay-per-view, it'll be James Storm versus Bully Ray, and then Gunner versus Robert Roode to determine the 2 finalists in the Battle for Glory series. But why would you have the 4 of them in a ring together, even if it's a fatal 4-way? And although Beer Money, Storm, and Roode, they didn't fight each other, but still, you're having them have some type of altercation or, being in physical contact with the guys that they're going to be fighting this Sunday. That doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, yes, you guys will be paired off, as in a singles match at the pay-per-view, but still, you had Roode touch Gunner. He got some licks in on Gunner, James Storm got some licks in on Bully Ray and vice versa. Why would you have these guys touch each other and have these guys brawl with each other tonight when they're going to be fixing each other off in a pay-per-view? Although I know tonight was a fatal four-way and the pay-per-view would be one-on-one for each guy, but still, if this was the case, they should have had a one-on-one match between Gunner versus Storm, Bully Ray versus Robert Roode. That would have made more sense, because you wouldn't have the guys who are going to have to fight each other for the number one contender spot and no surrender. They won't be touching each other. You know what I mean? They won't have that they won't finally lock up just yet until the pay-per-view. That would have made more sense. But like I said, bad book from TNA. So these are some problems that I have with tonight's Impact. Tonight, they've added like 4 matches. They've added 4 extra matches to the No Surrender pay-per-view card 3 days before their pay-per-view. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what is like the creative team or the staff team or booking team, whoever? What are you guys thinking up there in Orlando, Florida? Really? Although tonight I know they're in Alabama, but still, what was TNA creative thinking? Booking 4 or 5 matches at the last minute, 2 or 3 days before the pay-per-view. That doesn't make sense. And I understand, they're trying to gear everything towards Bound for Glory, because Bound for Glory is their big pay-per-view of the year. It's their Super Bowl. And basically No Surrender is pretty much like a throwaway pay-per-view. But you don't, how should I say this? You don't lack in promoting other pay-per-views before you get to your big pay-per-view, if that makes any sense. Because it's like, okay, Bound for Glory is your big pay-per-view of the year. This is the thing. This is the big pay-per-view where you're going to go all out. Everything culminates into this one big pay-per-view right here. But you have to book your other pay-per-views before your Super Bowl pay-per-view. You have to book those other pay-per-views well and promote those well. Because if you don't promote the pay-per-views and book them, if you don't promote these pay-per-views and book them right before you get to your big pay-per-view, no one's going to want to go to see your big pay-per-view, because they'll feel like, okay, well, you just added all these cards, you just kind of rushed it and just add all these matches on the No Surrender pay-per-view for no periodic reason, and then like I said, there was no build-up to the No Surrender pay-per-view. It's like, why even purchase buying No Surrender? You know what I mean? Because it's No Surrender that's supposed to lead you into the Bound for Glory, which is the big pay-per-view. But if you don't promote your No Surrender pay-per-view and or book it right, get all the matches and everything set before this pay-per-view airs, then people aren't going to want to be interested in buying this pay-per-view. And then they'll say, okay, well then, if they're going to book this late, then what's the point of even ordering or watching TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view if, they don't promote this one really well? This one has, a lot of lack of promotion, or, they don't book this one. They're not booking this one right. They're booking everything at the last minute. It looks bad. It looks very bad. Like I said, the only matches that everyone knew, going into No Surrender was the X Division title match between Austin Aries and Bryan Danielson, and then the Bound for Glory, the finalists for the Bound for Glory series thing they got going on with Robert Roode and with Beer Money Gunner and Bully Ray. That was it. But tonight, 3 days before the pay-per-view, they've added 5 extra matches at the last minute. Why the hell would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. They've added the tag match between, like I said, Pope and Devon for the tag team titles, who we just find out now tonight, they're a tag team, and they get over on the tag team like the British Invasion, who are good wrestlers, a great tag team in TNA, and they've been a well-oiled machine in TNA for the past 2 and 3.5 years that they've been in that company. They get squashed, in the first night with just these 2 random guys that they just slapped together, who, as people have been following, these guys have been at each other's throats. They get over, And they have a tag match tonight. Then they announced the Knockouts match tonight. Then they announced Samoa Joe versus Matt Morgan match tonight. Then they've added a Kurt Angle match. That Kurt Angle will be defending the world title match. They've added like 4 or 5 matches at the last minute, 3 or 4 or 5 days before the pay-per-view, and it's like, if you're a viewer, you're like, okay, why would I want to buy this pay-per-view now? Because, like I said, you have to build things. TNA has a terrible way of building things up. And like I said, I know they're trying to build stuff for Bound for Glory because that's their Super Bowl, but you still have to build up your stories, your superstars, whatever it is that you're trying to build up on other pay-per-views before you get to Bound for Glory. Because these are the pay-per-views, like I said, that people are going to want to watch. And, like I said, if they're good, then it'll persuade them to move forward and look forward to Bound for Glory. But if you book all your matches at the last minute, then you look at the card, and like I said, there's no build-up to any of these matches. They just randomly just add them onto the pay-per-view card. Then you're looking like, this pay-per-view isn't worth buying. What's the point of buying it, and why should I order Bound for Glory pay-per-view if you guys aren't, focusing what's in front of you right now, and that's the No Surrender pay-per-view. Just saying. I think TNA, they look, and Bound for Glory is around the corner. It's like, next month, but I mean, still, like, you can't look too far ahead into the future if you don't know what's going on and what's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to eat tomorrow morning. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning besides work. But why worry or think about what I'm going to eat or what I'm going to do tomorrow when I need to focus on what I'm doing right now? And that's making this YouTube video. So this is just my review of tonight's Impact Wrestling and my frustrations and problems that I had with tonight's episode. How, like I said, TNA just kind of rushed everything at the last minute, 3 days before the pay-per-view. Like I said, although No Surrender is kind of pretty much like a throwaway pay-per-view, I still think they should have booked it much better and kind of build towards it a little bit much better than what they've done tonight. Just setting 5 matches, added 5 matches randomly onto the card. So let me know what you guys think. Peace.